This image comes to us from a French alchemist named Jean Dubuis of the Philosophers of Nature. I will link their website in the description. You can get all this information for free, or all of his information, his courses, and so on. I'm doing this video because there doesn't seem like there's very much information out there regarding what this image actually is, or rather diagram explaining it. So I would like to do a video going more into detail about it, and in all honesty, this needs to be a multi-part series. But this diagram comes from a book of genes called The Experience of Eternity. Now, this first sphere this diagram describes manifestation of the elements. There's a lot to this whole diagram, and then in my head, because Gene doesn't really associate it with the Kabbalah like I think he should, to the extent, because things get convoluted, it seems like, especially when you try to understand it better. I'll put it that way. Because, okay, this top sphere here, Heil, it's also known as chaos, not unity, the original light, etc. This is potential of creation, chaos. So, he describes in this sphere, there's no time, there's no space. It's all vibration. There's a great attraction, power of attraction. It's a power that attracts everything that is in harmony with itself, including itself. The aim is for it to become conscious. It seeks consciousness. Now, this sphere represents unitary energy, which does not obey the laws of the energies of duality, which is the rest of this diagram, basically. That feels like that's his bit of a loophole, I guess, or scapegoat, I should say, because when you try and apply this stuff to physics, in my research, it doesn't seem to necessarily add up, because he says, because there's no space-time here, the vibrations have no frequency, have no wavelength. Everything has a frequency. I believe when it came to wavelength, though, that it was possible for the vibrations to not have a wavelength. I did have a whole presentation, but stuff happened. So, okay, now, for consciousness to occur, it must self-limit. Or rather, for creation and duality to exist, it must self-limit. which associates in Kabbalah to the Zimzum, which is a great contraction of light. And Heil here seems to be associated with Ein, Ein Sof, Or, the three veils of negative existence. Jean associates it with Chakma. Now, the Tree of Life, it's a whole thing in and of itself, but this is very Kabbalistic, in my opinion. He did not do it justice, I don't think. I mean, he did a great job for the most part. There needs to be more. So once this sphere, once this chaos, this Heil becomes conscious, which for it to self-limit, it needs to be conscious for creation. It needs to self-limit for creation. It needs knowledge. Which knowledge is obtained through experience. This I feel has associations with the five Behinot. It's also known as the four phases of direct light. It also has associations with, I believe the diagram is called the Iggul. I believe it's the shattering of the vessels. It was when God tried to create the tree of life, or create in the beginning, and then he basically screwed up. And that's how we got the Qliphoth. Okay, so once this becomes conscious, it goes down to, it's backwards, of course, but the salt, or the celestial salt, and then the niter. This is duality. These represent time and space, electricity and magnetism, spirit and matter. The niter is time, I believe it is. It's spirit. It represents spirit. It represents electricity. It is active, the active energy of the chaos, or of the unitary energy. But remember, this is duality energy now, or energies of duality. The salt here is passive, it's space, magnetism. That he doesn't go into a whole lot of in detail when it comes to these for some reason. But basically, these are the penultimate, I guess, or basically this is, just think of it as the niter, this is spirit energy, and this is physical energy. He does go more into it though, but again, like I said before, there's a lot missing. Now, to understand up here, this equal armed cross, it represents the four elements that are unmanifest. Now, when you go down, the niter and the salt will then subdivide even further, because the Heil divided into niter and salt. Then these two subdivide into the four elements. which if you're familiar with alchemy or these symbols in general, then you will know that, going from this side, you got fire, air, water, and earth. Fire is the most volatile, earth is the least volatile, meaning that with earth being the most fixed, fire is the least fixed. Now you got air and water. Air is more volatile than water, but it's less fixed than water, and vice versa. They are the transitional elements. Fire and water are active. Air and earth are passive. Fire and air are electrical because of the niter. The water and the earth are magnetic because of the salt. Now you come down here and you have sulfur, the mercury, and the alchemical salt. These definitely need a whole video on their own, but the salt is the body, mercury is the spirit, sulfur is the soul. Okay, well, about 12 minutes, that's not too bad. Alright, I know this probably wasn't the greatest video, but here it is. I hope you enjoyed. Any positive feedback you can give me would be greatly appreciated. The more I feel like people are enjoying any content I make, the more likely I will be willing to make content, make better content. So, have a good day. This was Frater. The name I'm going to decide to go by is either Frater Nathair or Brother Nathair. There's reasons behind that. Nathair being the Irish, I believe it was the Irish, maybe Scottish, Irish Gaelic word meaning serpent.